You probably never thought you'd fucking hear this from me, but there are actually times where saying the word fuck is inappropriate. Depending on your situation, you may have more situations than others in your life where using the word fuck is inappropriate. It's probably not a good idea, if you're a church-going person, to use the word fuck in church during the service. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the word fuck. I'm just saying it's out of courtesy for the others. I'm not a huge fan of being interrupted when I speak, and I'm sure most pastors are not huge fans of being interrupted when they speak either. At the same time, a lot of people, not all people who go to church, but many people who do, are uncomfortable with the word fuck, at least to a certain extent. Out of courtesy for them, if you're going to congregate with them at places where they aren't looking to hear words like fuck, you should refrain from saying it in their presence at those places. That's common courtesy. It's not censorship. Work. It's probably not in your best interest, at least in the English-speaking world, to use the word fuck at work too much. Especially if you work in an office setting or for a company where there are some deeply religious people in management, or if you have coworkers who are deeply religious and or offended by the word fuck. No, not all religious people are offended by the word fuck. However, workplaces do generally have policies about not saying things that offend others. For instance, I try to avoid using the word fuck at any paycheck job that I've had, and I generally try to avoid discussing politics or religion in general, unless it is to specify that something somebody is doing is offending my religious beliefs, which, like every other organized religion in the world, I make up as I go. But you have to respect them anyway. Or else. Barbados. Yes, it is actually illegal to watch an episode of Uncensored on a smartphone in a public place in Barbados. This is due to their laws prohibiting public profanity, and let's face it, I use the word fuck a lot, and I'm not going to stop using it just because one country has their panties up in a roar over words like fuck. But you probably should not go there and start saying fuck as loudly as possible, as publicly as possible, because you could be fined or detained. It's against the law. Not all countries have freedom of speech like the United States. Respect the laws of other countries when you're visiting them. When in Rome, do as the fucking Romans do. When in Barbados, don't swear in public. It's illegal. Public places where children congregate. This would be schools, most theme parks, especially ones that are specifically centered around children's or family entertainment. Chuck E. Cheese's, you probably shouldn't go in there talking like you just shot an episode of Uncensored. Some people, even in the digital age, do try to shield younger children from people who talk like me. But here's the thing. I may use the word fuck. At the same time, I'm not going to go somewhere where people are bringing their kids and cuss like a drunken fucking sailor. Playgrounds, well, someone my age, unless you've got kids, which I don't at the moment, what are you doing at playgrounds anyway? Unless you're looking for Pokemon, which is totally legit. As long as you're on Team Mystic. Or at least Instinct. But fuck Valor. Don't walk up to Santa at the mall, walk up to him and say, "Fuck you, Santa, I know you're fake, quit fucking with these kids' minds." Oh wait, there really aren't a whole lot of malls anymore except in really, really rich neighborhoods. And the other ones are dying a slow death. On a final note, you should not use the word fuck in front of your kids if their usage of it carries harsh consequences, because children do not understand why parents can say something that they can't. Be the example that you want your children to follow. Yes, I know, I don't have kids yet, and some of you mistakenly think that this disqualifies me from having a view on mistakes people make with kids. Well, if you feel that way, right there. Should we not allow people who aren't married or in a relationship to be police officers, since they may have to respond to domestic violence cases? Or perhaps we should not allow people who don't have children to be cops either, because they might have to respond to a child abuse case. If you don't see where I'm going with this, I can't really help you any further. F is for friendship. U is for unity. C is for caring. K is for kindness. So the next time somebody tells you that swear words are not words of peace, remember, you can't spell friendship, unity, caring, kindness without fuck. Apparently in Singapore, according to some information I received, the juices from the leaves of the Sansevieria are sometimes used to treat hoarseness, which I find rather strange, because I've always been given to understand if you ingest anything from this plant, you'll get laryngitis. So what the fuck is up with that? You've probably already noticed this, but there's a growing number of people who will literally like or dislike a particular celebrity or person in the media, artist or entertainer, based on their political affiliations. I'm sure there are people who already dislike me because I'm pro-gun, anti-spanking, and I lean pro-life. But I'm not a pro-birther. There is a difference. When I was in trucking school, they actually roomed me with a guy during one of the 3 weeks I was there, who actually didn't like certain actors because they happened to be members of the Democratic Party. He was a diehard Republican, but I slipped to him because he was saying bad stuff about Taylor Swift, which I don't really like or dislike her, but I just pointed out to him that she's a Republican. Or at least according to information I had, she was a Republican at the time. This may have changed since then. All of a sudden, he was raving about her. Like, oh, she's got a good head on her shoulders. It was like, okay. Personally, and I grew up in the 90s, so I know who Crystal Bernard from Wings and Candace Cameron Bure, though it wasn't Cameron Bure then, it was just Cameron. I know who both of them are. And I lost quite a bit of respect for them when I found out they were pro-spanking. The same as I lost some respect for Martin Sheen when I recently found out that he was and still is. But does that mean I'm going to stop watching something just because they're in it? In the case of Martin Sheen, no. Though I do enjoy that scene in The American President a hell of a lot more, where Michael Douglas screams, "Fuck you," at him. And it's like, fuck you! Okay, I was totally reaching for an excuse to say the word fuck there. Not that you really fucking need a fucking excuse to fucking say the fucking word fuck. But, getting back on fucking topic, people do tend to make their decisions as to what media to watch, as to which actors, actresses to support, which musicians to listen to, based on that person's particular political views. And it's not necessarily just Republican or Democrat if you're in the US, or whatever parties are applicable outside the US. It comes down to, a lot of times, one's viewpoints on a number of topics. As I've already said, people have probably already made judgments about me for having certain political views. By the way, I'm neither a Republican nor a Democrat, because both the Republican and Democratic parties are completely full of shit at this point. I have been both. I was a Republican at one time, I was a Democrat for a longer time. I'm neither now. So, let's piss everybody off. I'm gonna piss everybody off in one fucking episode. Fuck everybody. Not really fuck everybody, but there are people who assume that if you're not the same political party as they are, that you're no good. This is part of what's wrong with America. By the way, I do not hate America. I actually love it, because there are a lot of things that are right about America. For instance, here, you can not only criticize your government and post videos of it online, but you can also use graphic fucking language while you do it. So, fuck Obama, fuck Bush, fuck Clinton, fuck every president who has served in my lifetime, including Jimmy Carter. I was less than a year old when he left office. And fuck the House of Representatives, fuck Congress, fuck you if you think the government's going to help anything in our lives. So there. Now I've kind of expressed my own views, and you can be as judgmental of me as you want. I totally stole that last line from somebody a whole hell of a lot younger than me, and not even from this country. Do you find yourself using the word fuck too much in your everyday speech? There is a cure for this. Quit worrying about it, you're doing nothing wrong. Okay, so I actually got hate mail from somebody, and they're mad because they're claiming that their 3-year-old kid was watching my show and is now saying the word fuck every other word, every chance he gets. And they're presenting this to me as if this is my fault that they allowed a 3-year-old to watch a web series called Uncensored, and now they're mad because said 3-year-old is using the F word. People, are you seriously trying to tell me that you are not monitoring your kids' internet usage, especially at that critical age? Does a 3-year-old even have business using the internet? A lot of people are always looking for anybody else to blame but themselves when anything goes wrong. I have known people like this all my life. I'm related to a few of them, though only 3 or 4 come to mind at the moment. But it's never their fault, it's always yours. This comes off a lot like the mantra of the abuser in domestic violence situations. Oh, it's not my fault, it's yours. Then again, some could argue that my show also comes off in the same way. Look, I warn people in advance. This show is called Uncensored. You're going to hear naughty fucking language. You're going to hear controversial fucking opinions. Things that will make your blood boil. Because freedom of speech is not just about saying things that make people happy. It is also sometimes about speaking your mind, even when you know you are going to piss a few people off and possibly make a few enemies. Much like in the situation where people are criticizing a football player for refusing to stand during the national anthem. Well, yeah. Personally, I'm not saying I agree with him. I kind of see both sides of it, and yeah, on the surface it seems like a dick move on his part. I also have to consider that in this country, one of the things our founding fathers were very careful about was not to make it mandatory to pledge allegiance to a flag, whether or not under God, not to be required to respect institutions, anthems, flags. If you want to live in a country where respecting the anthem is mandatory, North Korea does allow people to defect there. Yes, I know, I made fun of North Korea in the last episode. And yes, Kim Jong-un, you can still go fuck yourself. But there are plenty of countries where it is illegal not to respect the anthem if you want to live in one of those countries. You probably would not enjoy living in any of them. Most of you have a job. Most of you have also said something that has pissed somebody off in the course of your job or off the clock. How would you feel if someone suggested that you be fired for doing something that they thought was unpatriotic, or saying something that they thought was unpatriotic? I'm actually relatively secular, but at the same time, there's also an old Judeo-Christian, I believe, saying that goes to the effect of, let the person without sin cast the first stone. As a kid, I used to hear the following statement a lot. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Therefore, the word fuck cannot hurt you, right? People have shied away from apologizing when they make mistakes in recent times, and there are many reasons for this. Two major ones. One, people don't like to admit they're wrong because to them it might imply failure. Well, if you fucked up and you've pissed somebody off and you can fix it by telling them you're sorry, you should maybe at least think about it. Two, people are afraid of getting sued. There are some good reasons for this. It turns out, in some cases, such as if you rear-end somebody's car and you say, "I'm sorry," and they later wind up with whiplash or claim they have whiplash, your two words can sometimes be used as evidence against you in a lawsuit, thanks to ambulance-chasing lawyers. You may have noticed that lawyers almost never apologize even when they know they're wrong. I actually experienced this in 2004 when I was working as a cashier / customer service associate at a home improvement chain, one of the more popular ones. And a guy who was actually an attorney called me incompetent because a barcode wasn't on an item. I told him I didn't appreciate being called incompetent for something that wasn't my fault. His response, I quote, "I don't care if you appreciate it or not because I'm the customer, I pay your salary, I'm going to get you fired." Well, he did call one of the managers. The manager talked to him for a few minutes and kind of diffused him, but I didn't even get so much as a write-up for that because something you have to understand in retail, just because you complain about somebody does not mean they are going to get fired or even face disciplinary action. There's a good reason for this. If one complaint got somebody fired, nobody would still be working there. Wake the fuck up. And yes, even I will admit that it was probably not in the best interest of customer service to tell the man that I did not appreciate being treated less than human. However, at the same time, I also do not feel that just because you work a retail job, you should have to check your right to be treated like a human being at the door. Customers can be terrible people. And yes, okay, their patronage keeps the lights on and keeps people in a job. At the same time, would you walk up to a waiter and punch them and say, "If you file an assault charge against me, I will have you fired because I'm the customer and I pay your salary"? Oh, by the way, this guy is actually, I don't know if he's still alive, but at the time he was actually an attorney based out of Bellefontaine, Ohio. And I know his name, but I'm not going to publicize it on the air or on YouTube for two reasons. One, he's not important enough to get free publicity, and I'm not going to give the son of a bitch free publicity. Two, I don't want to get sued. Bottom line, he should have come back and apologized for the way he talked to me. Never did. Came back in the store a few times and was reasonably friendly afterwards, but never brought himself to say, "Hey, Blake, I'm sorry for the way I acted." Lawyers never apologize, at least in my experience. Possibly because lawyers are largely responsible for the culture where we are now afraid to apologize for anything, even when we know we were wrong and that there was no excuse for our actions, because we're afraid of personal consequences for ourselves. This is actually one of the things I'm going to be touching up on in a motion picture that I'm making, but I don't want to give away too much of the script at this time. I've already covered how versatile the word fuck is in a previous episode, so there's really no need to beat a dead fucking horse on that. While people rage on about whether the football player was right or wrong to refuse to respect the anthem, there is another great way you can show tremendous respect for the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. And that is by using your right to free speech to say words like fuck every fucking chance you get. The Founding Fathers gave you the right to use the word fuck in your everyday speech, especially when criticizing the fucking government, which, yes, is patriotic, just as liking a government can also be patriotic. Saying fuck is patriotic. Saying fuck shows respect for freedom of speech by using freedom of speech. This is not to say that refusing to say fuck is unpatriotic, because a part of freedom of speech is also choosing not to say certain things if you don't wish to. You are not forced to say anything. You are not banned from saying anything, even if it makes other people's blood boil. So maybe instead of just flying a flag or just saluting a national anthem, maybe what people really need to do is be more honest in their freedom of speech and use words like fuck in their everyday speech. Fuck yeah! So maybe F is for freedom, U is for united, C is for Constitution, and K is still for kindness, because we need more of that in our society. There are auto insurance companies that say you can save a certain percentage by switching your car insurance over to their company. But you can save a whole hell of a lot more than 15% on your personal sanity by switching to giving zero fucks about people who have a negative opinion of you. There is, granted, a difference between constructive criticism and destructive criticism. A constructive critic will offer solutions to help you with points where you're struggling. A destructive critic a lot of times will call themselves constructive, but they are really just trying to knock you down at every step because they either don't like you or they're jealous of you. So the best solution is to give zero fucks about these people.